Hi, this is Cindy at an open door, May 28th, 2026. This is the hour entitled Finding Truth Everywhere. Today we're going to be discussing our experience with the movie Zero Limits with Joe Vitale and friends. I'll be sharing some of my highlights of my experience and then opening it up. Before I do that, this has been really fun. Usually I just have a song, right? Usually the song is easy for me. I love starting with a song. I had a song yesterday. I changed it this morning. I went to set it up, had some internet issues, and when it all got cleared up, there was a new Playing for Change song that just popped up, and we're going to play it. So I just listened to the first few minutes, and so we'll be listening to it together for the first time. Hi, Amy. You snuck in while I was speaking.
I want to say hi to Mara. I haven't seen Mara in forever.
Yeah, it's been over a year.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just in case you thought that you weren't a contributor or you weren't noticed, we all noticed.
Thank you.
We like having you here. Okay, here we go. And hi to everybody else. I see all these letters and words, and of course there's John, but he got so much attention yesterday. Sorry. Okay, here we go. No, not quite yet. There it is.
And I hear the voice
Yeah, that just happened. Okay. So here's what I got. I got Helen Hamilton in my head. That's the first thing I have. I think she's the first one that really dropped the message for me that there's nothing we need to do. Like the path is over, this just is, blah, 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 blah. And then she said, but everything I did was exactly perfect. So all the seeking, all the attempting, the different bits and pieces, everything along the way and everything to come is exactly what's happening. So, and that really came up for me in this movie, 20 some odd years ago. I watched The Secret on repeat, you know. I had the original copy of The Secret that still had Esther Hicks in it. I don't know if everybody knew Esther was in the original copy, and then she saw the completed copy, and Abraham insisted that they be brought out of it for various reasons. So the copy that got popularized didn't have Abraham and Esther Hicks, but I had both copies, and I was on this route of figuring out how to end my suffering, and I somehow went to every website and studied with a whole bunch of people and and really thought the answer was outside of me, at that time with The Secret. But at the same time, I immersed myself for the longest time in the Sedona method, and it still is alive in me. And that was part of that experience in my life with Hal Dworkin. And I also went through this stage of just immersing myself with Dr. Lou and Ho'oponopono and Zero Limits for a little bit, and watching Joe Vitale sponsored these weekend virtual things. Um, so it was very useful on my path. And so that was some period of time ago. And then there was a piece of my path where everything that wasn't exactly what I was doing right now was somehow wrong. And I could tell you why it was wrong, and I wouldn't hear what was right about it. And that went on for a really long time. And now I'm in this place where I still see the resistance come up. The this is right and this is wrong, but I've learned to laugh at it. And it's actually the reason why I was inspired to begin this hour, when it was still a pure presence, finding truth everywhere. Part of my personal practice with these videos is listening not to find what is not true for me or not right or not useful, but practicing listening for what is the same and what can I take out of this and how can this serve me. And I've discovered that no matter what or who is in front of me, when I step into the experience from that, with that attitude, I'm served and I'm blessed and something beautiful happens. And that's what happened with me with this video. Not that I disagreed with anyone, not that I found less than value in all the different expressions, but it felt overwhelming to my system that there were so many different things and so many different points of view. Um, and so I stepped back from looking at what was different and what was useful and not useful, and I just opened up to what was the same. And I want to, and what I got out of it, and I want to just share a few of those with you before I open it up. So what's the first thing that lit up for me? The number of gorgeous dogs. That's the very first thing. I don't know if you noticed, but I noticed that like the only one, I think one of the only ones that didn't have their dog like running around or whatever was the woman who worked with horses. So it was like the sheer number of happy dogs in this video felt really good to me. Um, The second thing, which is part of my practice and part of my understanding, is the importance of the commitment and the consistency to the practice. Listening to some of these people talk about like using the cleansing in part of their mind, even in the middle of conversations, always kind of being aware of where your attention is, no matter how uncomfortable the moment is. That's part of what I'm striving to more and more. Whenever I can pause and step back and really sit, okay, what's coming up and how do I hold it? Um, I saw that in not all of the shares, but in a lot of the shares that lit me up. And I also just want to say, at least for me, I know Joe Vitale's focus was Ho'oponopono, and that's fabulous. My experience is that the purification or the cleansing or the resetting to come back to balance and knowing where you are, it literally doesn't matter what practice you use, as long as it's the one that lights you up. So whether or not, like those of us that are doing Inner Ramana suggests using a mantra to bring you back, or just pausing, or God is, I often remind myself God is, or wording through it, or whatever other practice. Sometimes it's just, where are my feet right now? That was something I learned from Lisa Natoli. Like, do you know where your feet are? So even in the midst of finding myself contracting and believing and getting really upset, disconnecting from that and coming back and remembering where my feet are is a cleansing and a clearing practice for me. I loved this pointing that doing that breaks the invisible prison. I don't remember who said that because all the different voices were merging, but the understanding that when I more and more and more remember who I am in the moment of whatever the world, like allowing the world to fully embrace me, but not getting lost in it, and doing whatever I can to cleanse the fog. At the same time, it works to the guides talk about taking the tightly woven cloth and loosening it so you could see the light through it. Or what they said was, you're doing the work to break the invisible prison. I really like that visual, this understanding that when my focus is on the truth, as it is alive in me in this moment, I am not focused on the chaos, on the problems to solve, and that's the work that breaks me out of this invisible prison. And I don't remember who said it, but this idea of no limits, knowing that it's possible, is also a teaching of the guides. The guides state that all things, like the idea of stepping out of everything you understand to be true, is absolutely our reality and the promise. But first, we have to accept that it can be done. It can be so. It will be so. It is so. So I understand that if I am continually focused on my limitations and my lack and the problems to solve, then I'm not expanding into the world of infinite possibility. And so that lit up for me. And somebody said, your job isn't figuring out what to do. Your job is getting out of the way and being willing to step into the unknown. And that's our practice too, more and more, whether it's the guides or A Course in Miracles or my buddy Joel Goldsmith, or now I'm hanging out with Salvador Poe for a while. It's all this willingness to relax into no mind, or letting go of expectations and be willing to follow guidance into being the fool stepping off the cliff from the tarot. Um, I also, and I've heard Rana talk about this more times than I can count, your first thought, developing a habit of like essentially plugging in before you even get out of bed. I think I've heard Rana talk about rolling out of bed and dropping to your knees before you do anything else. Setting the day up before it even begins. Yeah, see, that's Rana rolling out of bed and dropping to your knees, being developing a habit of setting up your day with your first thought, and then developing the habit of noticing that whenever you got lost in the problems, to step back into the pause and do the clearing or whatever. That came through for me in this movie too. Um, this understanding of feel your feelings, especially the uncomfortable ones. That's part of our practice. Um, and here's another AA teaching. I'm waiting for Rana. We'll see if Rana's still there. You want to hit the light, shh. One of the gentlemen said, "My belief in her was more powerful than her doubt." And 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 there she is. See, and it's an AA thing, right? You could borrow my God until you have your own 12-step program. Um, there's a deep understanding it's what we do for each other. When I can't see my awesomeness, somebody in this group or will see it for me, and can we pull each other out of our believing our lack back into the light. We do that for each other over and over again, and the importance of that, I don't think we can talk. And then I heard you matter. You matter. Get still and listen and shine the light. Shine the light. I heard that throughout this movie, just that we all matter. And no matter where we find ourselves today, it's a temporary experience. I'm not lit up. Um, I'm not in search of abundance. I'm not in search of the perfect family and the perfect relationship and the perfect health. That's not what lights me up anymore, but I remember when it did. So I'm not. But the general underlying current, the last thing I heard Joe Vitale say is that there is an unlimited divine intelligence, and that's my experience too. Now, I'm not going to tell that unlimited divine intelligence what it is I want, other than I want that clear channel to to experience myself in, as, and with that unlimited divine intelligence. So that is my sharing of this movie. And I hand the mic over to Livy Laugh Love. Hey, Livy, did you enjoy the movie?
Hey, Cindy. Well, I had an interesting experience with it because the first time I watched it, I wasn't in the greatest space energetically, but when it started playing, and to give a little bit of context, I was consistently compared to other people when I was growing up, and it was usually the people who had money and dressed nice, and why can't you look like her? And so I realized that I grew up with a prejudice of people who had money. And what this video gave me a gift of realizing, no, it's my own feelings of unworthiness that, when I first started listening to it the first time I watched it, and I got real judgmental and just kind of was like, this is just this is just those stories of, if you do this, then you'll have money. If you do this, then you'll have that or the other thing. And so I wasn't real interested. There were a couple of people that I resonated with, but the rest of it, I really, but I love the Hono. I never know how to say it, but the prayer. I loved the prayer. But then today I turned it on again to listen, and it was like listening to a whole nother movie. I was able to hear and without any of the judgments or the prejudices or the beliefs that wanted to come up. And I'm grateful they came up because it gave me an opportunity to look at them and heal them. And I was able to hear, and they were to me, they started saying the same thing. And I started hearing it as a way of really another tool that we've been given to open up that love space, to open up the parts in us. And so I really appreciate, I had a bigger appreciation and just in the way of opening up to the divine one and the different ways to do that. I guess I was able to hear it in a different way that I was really grateful for. And I was grateful for both hearings because I learned a lot. I learned about my own limiting beliefs and the limits that I have put on myself. And so it was kind of cool to come away with it going, oh, I'm the one that's placing all these limits on me when there's really zero limits, you know? How cool is that? And so it's just given me another sort of mantra to say. And I've added it to when, like Rana, I learned from her and I roll out of the bed and I get on my knees. And so that's a prayer that I say now. And I say it before I go to bed. And it's a prayer that my being really appreciates when I say it for myself. And so it turned out to be really grateful for it. So thanks, Cindy, and love the song. Love the song.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was a gift from the universe. The other thing I want to say before I hand things over to Lonnie, it's fun to watch. I think I've said it to you before, said it to this group before. There is no um, intellectual analysis relative to how Cindy chooses what she puts on this list. I never pre-listen to them. They show up and something lights up and I add them. When any member of this group says, how about we do this one? I don't remember the last time I said no to any of it. Um, I don't know if I don't remember saying no to anything anyone suggested. I don't pre-listen to those either. There's a there's a trust in the flow, and I think it helped me sit with watching this, that there was a reason that it was chosen and placed in our listing, and I listened for what that was and how it was going to inform all of us. There was an intellectual or a thinking mind invitation to not include it. I don't want to go back to where I was 20 years ago, type of thing, but it was a very different experience with it. So thank you, Livy. I'm glad you went back to it. Yeah. Hey, Lonnie.
Hey, family. Good to see everybody's beautiful expression. So, yeah, I wasn't sure about this. I was about 20 minutes in and I was like, oh my gosh, this is a fucking infomercial. That's what it felt like. And I immediately felt the pushback from wanting to listen and watch. Luckily, I come with a system that's full of reminders, and it was like, this is on the path. You will watch it. Literally, that was the wording. And so I went back and started it again because I was reminded that it's in the witnessing, be present for the witnessing. I kept hearing in my system that the messenger is not nearly as important as the message. And I was taken back to a time I really have no awareness anymore of how many years ago anything was. So I'll say a time before. And I was in meditation and I asked, how come there's so many different ways of saying the word God and talking about God? And what I got back was because there's so many ears to hear. Just as simple as that. And so when I listened to this yesterday, I very much listened to it through that awareness of the lens of so many different ways in to the same place, so that it's accessible. It reinforced that divine presence is accessible to all. All is needed is willingness. I was struck and again wanting to push back from. I was really struck by how every time it seemed like abundance was discussed, it went to money. And it turned me off because I experienced abundance from a whole nother place, the least of which is money. And I recognize too that people who have a lot of money, I don't necessarily automatically witness them in a state of abundance. They don't seem to have that experience. They seem to walk in more fear than someone with nothing. So I was just very much watching that in the discussion and every time it came up. And I really took it as an opportunity to just not judge them. That if that is the doorway, then who am I to judge their doorway? And it let me get through. I think I really loved the video. I loved the message that it sent. I got a lot of validation. But I also was just, I'm asked not to just say I, because more than I was very, very struck and intrigued by abundance for humanity seeming to constantly go back to money and how that plays in it all. And I know that's why we never watched the whatever that movie was.
The Secret?
Yeah, and the law or the law of attraction, because every time I did a reading up on it, it was about attracting money, attracting wealth. And there was wealth related to money, it seemed, not wealth related to being, which is a completely different thing. I somehow knew that even before this work was this intentional. But thank you for the video.
You are most welcome. I noticed that even when they weren't discussing wealth and they were discussing relationship and they were discussing family, the imagery was all of abundance. And I sat with that very carefully because those that are in one-on-one conversations with Cindy know that, that there is a constriction in the hose when it comes to having enough, right? So instead of, for me, I noticed my judgment and I wondered if my judgment was constricting my hose. Like if I had an opportunity to live on a house on the side of the hill with the view of mountains and ocean and having all that, would I turn it down? I would not. I would not. If I could live on this huge ranch with horses and eat the best foods and be able to have a retreat center that was filled with comfort and flow and cars that worked and beautiful artwork, would I turn that down? I would not. So what in me keeps me like my focus is not on money, but and what keeps me from living a life of joy and ease and these extra little perks that come with it. It's an interesting balance.
I wonder if there's any difference between coming to a place of feeling like one has enough versus living in a place of constantly wanting more.
Well, I mean, a I don't have an answer.
It's not an answerable
Right.
question.
I live in those types of balancing questions. For me, the question oftentimes, or the willingness for me is, let me see my blocks.
Mm.
Because my understanding is if I feel limited in any aspect of my life, then I'm limiting divine's flow. And there,
That's really what it came to for me right now, because money is, it's not a flowing thing. But I realized I saw a shift recently. And the shift is that I'm no longer waking up worrying, am I going to be able to keep my house? And when I look when I kind of settle into what's in that place where that used to show up. I mean, this sounds so maybe trite, I don't know, but God's there and I can trust that. I don't know what the hell is going to go beyond this moment, but God's there. I can trust that.
yeah,
Thanks.
beautiful. Thank you, Lonnie. Amy, I was hoping you'd raise your hand. I was looking for your hand, and here it is.
Oh, you're so sweet. Livy said a lot of it for me, and so did Lonnie. I guess the only thing I would add, it would be just a brief pointer. But if, as Cindy, as you say, what's true is always true, then my question would be, who is it that thinks that they can manipulate their own personal reality into abundance? And who is it that thinks it knows that that would be good for them? And so that's just my question. It's fine to have desire. I'm not judging that in any way. Desire is a beautiful thing. But it just, I just have to ask that. And if the guides are right, that the monad actually is the one that is in charge of a lot of what thoughts we have and how we move throughout this dream, then who is it that's really in charge? And who is it that thinks that they can think the right way and then change everything? And whose thoughts are those that are thinking? If you had a shit ton of money and a big house that you could invite us all to so that we could be on retreat, it would raise issues for you, I would think, that are probably not even imaginable. Maybe you can imagine some of them, but you wouldn't be the same Cindy. You would be someone else or something else. And I really love what is right here now. And I don't need for you to have all those things for me to love you, because what you are is absolutely perfect, and what you've gone through is what has made you. And I know you know that. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. I don't think that at all. But it just seems to me like some of this is going after some dream goal that is that we've been told is what we should want, and and that if we change our thinking at the ego level, that everything will shift. And I just think that's a bunch of bullshit. It's not the whole truth. And so it just made me question some of that. I do, like Livy, I love the Ho'oponopono. I love that. I think it's so beautiful. But it has to be said fresh every time. It can't just come off like some rote thing. It has to be meant and and felt. So that was what I got out of it. But I really applaud Lonnie for watching it again and Livy for watching it again and looking at it afresh. That's I admire that.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I wouldn't have. I mean, it took me a week and a half to watch it, and when it was over, I knew I was never going to watch it again. I didn't need to. Um, and and my prayer relative to in all honesty, my prayer relative to abundance is relieve me of the bondage of self that I made you. To me, that's liberation and freedom. So my focus on abundance isn't give me more. My focus these days are how am I blocking the flow? And if hopefully that, not so that I can have more money, but so that I could be of greater service and I could know myself more completely. It's a very, I don't know how it's coming across to you all, but it's a very different feel for me.
How do you know you're blocking the flow? How do you know
I,
the flow isn't absolutely perfect for you?
it's absolutely perfect in this moment, and I could feel the blockage. Like when I could feel when I have a belief in like it's a me separate feeling. Yeah. And it's there's no problem with the me separate feeling, but for me, I take it as a sign of resting around it and letting it express and seeing what happens next.
And what stood out too was that even the ones who talked about abundance from a money point of view, what they also shared is it was them focusing on themselves and what they were being that created a shift. Even though their focus in the sharing was in all this abundance of money and wealth it brought, the real turning point was turning toward the self, it seemed,
Yeah.
using whatever tools they use.
Yeah. And stepping away and looking at it because the tools themselves were beautiful in the Ho'oponopono. And I remember going to a mega church once, um, with Mark when I was dating him, and there's like five, six, 700 people, and I just couldn't feel the spirit. I just didn't feel it. For me, it was cold. It was like I loved being an Episcopalian when I was an Episcopalian because it wasn't the Roman Catholic guilt, and you have to be and I got the beauty of the communion. I was so madly in love with the communion. I can't tell you. And I could feel the spirit. I moved in the spirit. I was part of a healing group. We laid on hands and we danced and we laughed and right. And he looked at me and he said, Cindy, what this pastor is doing is he's touching the people who can't be touched otherwise. So for me, I couldn't feel the spirit, but the Episcopalian churches I was going into, if they had 50 people in them, that was a lot. The mega church had not, I was in a church that probably had six, 700 people, and they had, at the same time, the preacher had these video outlets to other areas in the community. There was probably 2,000 people listening to his message, which means that, like, it's a bridge. That's what he was telling me. And it gave me a different kind of and perhaps this movie, like 25 years ago, The Secret took me from where I was to whatever the next step was. It was definitely a bridge that was required. So yeah, I don't know why I said all that, but I did. I'm gonna hand things over to let it go. Hello, sweetheart.
Hi, everyone. I love being here. So great to see everyone. Um, for me, what I've learned, I love the teachings from Ramana because he just teaches silence. And at least for me, it's really only when I am silent that I can hear God. I can hear my heart. I can hear what God is telling me. And I feel this love that just makes me speechless. So, to me, the world and everything can do whatever it wants to do. That's not what I am at all. The chaos and everything can be whatever it is. It's only when I'm quiet and when I have to do sometimes because I'm so pissed off. Sometimes I have to I have to tell God off. But but once I do that, then it's like I'm calm, and then I can hear, And I can feel this love that we all are. And then I'm guided what to do. So anyway, that's my experience. Um, so yeah, I don't know, but that's what I do. I am honest. I tell God off or whatever, and then I just get quiet. And that's when I can get quiet, is after I kind of get it out. Anyway, that's my experience. So great to see all of you.
Thank you, Nadego. Hi, Livy Laugh Love, LLL.
Hey, everybody, again. Thank you so much for that reminder, Dago. I so appreciate your reminders. They're just always perfect and right on time. I just wanted, if y'all don't mind, I'm going to share some abundance that manifested in my life. And it's not the kind of abundance they were talking about. So I have lived in this little condo. It'll be 23 years in July. Nobody in my family has ever lived anywhere near this long in one building, one place. And it's gone through a lot of changes. I've gone through a lot of changes in those 23 years, got sober, et cetera. You know, my dad passed after living with me for 11 years. So for, especially the past 3 years, there was nothing on the walls. And I don't have, there was no inheritance. I don't have, a lot of money, and I'm very grateful for what I have. And I got this at the other day, but it says gratitude turns what we have into enough. And that's kind of what Lonnie was talking about. And I got to share with y'all. So I've been, really practicing the questions and inner Ramana and things. And I, there was little furniture. I wanted to get a chair at some point. And one day there's a Goodwill next to the Food Lion. And I was going to Food Lion and something, just a subtle nudge said, go into Goodwill. So I went into Goodwill and it was senior day at the Goodwill. And I went in and I didn't really know why I was in there, but I went in and I'll be darned if I didn't get these two chairs that are the perfect size, the perfect colors and everything. And I got both of them for $16. And yes, ma'am, I did. And then last weekend, and I'm somebody that my belief is I am not an interior designer. I do not know how to do that stuff. I'm not going to be any good at it. And this past Saturday, all of a sudden, I just felt this flow. And y'all, I got pictures developed that, using an old word, that bring me the most happiness of my family members. I pulled out things because things have been tucked away for a very long time. And that evening, I was in so much gratitude and tears because I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I'm not the one that would be seeing how to create this space and one that provides creativity and safety and love and just to really instill that happiness of that I truly am. And it's not me. And that's how I'm manifesting. That's my abundance. That's surrounding myself with what I have that brings me the most joy and be so grateful to it because it is enough, you know? And I thought about y'all. I thought about my open door family and I thought, I can't wait to share this with them when I really allow myself to be lived, then I truly get the life that brings me that happiness that I am. And so I just really appreciate y'all's guidance and that I get to share this with y'all. I just am so excited to get to share that with y'all. So thanks for letting me share. I sure do love all y'all.
I love us. been listening to a lot of Salvador Poe, and I just heard him this morning say that that ego mind is not a creator, it's a recorder and reactor. So as I was listening to you, that's what was coming up, this idea that whenever I think it's me separate, then it's not. The me separate is it's sort of like Michael Singer's roommate in your head, you know, the one that's talking at you all the time. It's really not doing anything but talking at you all the time. And then it gets quiet and you open and that which is really you flows through and creates. So I loved the way you just painted that picture. Thank you. L times 3. Sandra, what happened to your hand?
Hi.
There you are.
Uh, Well, having a little bit of problems auditorial, so I'm just bear with me. Well, first of all, hi everybody. Ditto to almost everything that was said. And as I listened to this, I stopped a few times and waited in between. There was a lot. What as I was trying, being open and receptive to what was being said, what came through for me was this golden thread through all the little stories, even though some of them seemed to be like infomercials, like Alani said. But there was behind all of it was like an acknowledgement and a knowing of something far beyond and far greater than the little limited egoic self. In all the stories, there was always an acknowledgement, a knowing, and somehow it had impacted their lives, that they had opened to in some way or in some form. And like there was one woman who was going into some old records, and some people got hypnotized, but in every case, there was a leaning into or an acknowledgement of a divine intelligence that could inform the life they are currently living in a way that dramatically changed their view of themselves and dramatically changed the limitations they had previously put on themselves. And that's what I got from it. And that one person said, we all have the glow. I love the glow. We all have the glow. And somehow through each of those different practices or this whole multiplicity of ways that the divine manifests itself, each really unique to the people, to the individual people, in a way that was sweet. And even the guy who said something about expensive cars are an
Joe
inspiration.
Vitale.
I mean, I just had to chuckle at that one. But it seems like as I on this journey I'm on, like the way the Course in Miracles was downloaded to Helen, a psychologist, and there's so much psychology in there, and the way it's just so amazing how the truth of who we are, the being that we are, God, reveals itself through all of us. And how we have access, like the access that Libby just described, which was so perfect. It's like I've always tried to figure things out, but now I know I just need to, what did they say? Delete the data. I liked that one. Delete the data, press delete. Got all this data in here, all these stories, get back to zero, be open, And then what did he say? This whole title, this was The Secret to Attracting Miracles. It's like there is this this trust, this belief, this letting go, delete the story, delete the data, get quiet, as Nindigo says, get quiet. In Inner Ramana, we're learning to ask questions. You know, you can do self-inquiry, but it all leads to the same place, the knowledge of the heart, the knowledge of the soul. And I don't have to like anybody's way or even pick a way. I just need to have, for me, I just trust, even in the most trying circumstances. Just remember I am loved, I'm safe, and I don't have to put any limits on anything. I can't tell you how many limits. I mean, first of all, I think coming down into this body probably has some of its own limits, seemingly limits right away, but I can let go of those, let go of those, let go of those. I'm not limited. So that's kind of what I got out of it. And then I could enjoy, when I stopped critiquing, I could start enjoying the stories. Even the ones that seemed the most, you know, to my life seemed a little, you know, the flowy dresses, you know, the crystals. I mean, but that was for them. That was their experience. So I'm just grateful that I can feel it. Like, and I think I said, I can feel that love. I can feel that I am being informed and led and guided, and that I can trust that. And it's okay to have desires. You know, I'm in this human form, but that doesn't mean that's what I'm aiming for. It just may happen, it may not happen. So that's what I have to say about this particular movie. Thank you, Cindy, for it.
Oh,
I got
well,
some,
it came from the same place that Libby's redecorating is coming from. Yeah. So, Mara, let me ask, did you watch the movie? We all want to hear your voice.
Yes, I did. And yeah, it was a little ostentatious at times, but what I got from it was a lot like what Sandra said. If you erase the data, delete the data, then the miracles happen, and miracles are different for everyone. Those were their miracles, and I don't know, I feel that when I am like quiet, when some of the data gets deleted, that that miracles happen in my life. You know, I feel like every day is so beautiful.
Oh,
So I enjoyed it because I just took it that it's possible for anyone to have miracles. And that was how they wanted theirs, or how, not they wanted it, but that's how it came through, I guess. So,
thank
yeah,
you. Thank you very
nice being back here.
much. Man, it's nice to have you.
Thank you.
And Patricia, why does it feel like I haven't heard your voice in a hot minute? Did you watch?
I did. I watched it. I was very judgmental at first, and I thought to myself, well, look what's up. You don't like this. I've been there. I did that a long time ago, and I never got wealthy. So I'm clear that it didn't work. But then I thought about it and I thought, I've always had enough. I have always had enough. I have a roof over my head. I live in a nice area. I am blessed. And with that understanding, it's like, how much do I need? When I'm feeling insecure, I'll go to Amazon and start making a list of things of everything I want. And I keep it there. And I keep it there. I don't order it. And then I go back in a couple of days and delete, 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 delete. So deleting the data, deleting the insecurity, deleting the self-doubt. But I did love the prayer, uh, I love myself. I forgive myself. I'm sorry. That's rather sweet. So I appreciated that.
Thank you.
Other than that, I wouldn't rewatch it. I mean, I've been there, done that. It feels very old to me. And what comes for me is coming back to the now, coming back to the now, coming back to the now. That's all there is. And that's enough. Thanks.
Thank you. Feels like that even though we didn't all have the most positive or enjoyable of the experiences, we've had useful experiences watching the movie. What about you, Melanie, in the last minute that we have here? Did you watch?
Yes, that purple Lango, I can't even pronounce the word, Langro, the car,
Yeah.
Langro,
Lamborghini,
yeah, thank you.
Lamborghini.
That was from the ugliest thing ever. Sorry, I just had to put that in. Um, and I just remember an expression that says, a person is wealthy in proportion to the things you can live without. And sometimes, isn't it great to be free of all that stuff sometimes? And just enjoy, the sunlight and just being together. That's I feel so wealthy just being here with you all. So I'm so grateful. So that's my little contribution for today.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I didn't even get to call on William, and even though it's 1 o'clock, I still want to just even hear your voice, sir. I think everybody else. Oh, and Chuck. Chuck didn't say hi either. I'm used to talking to Chuck every day.
Yeah, I just noticed that I just love, I'm exactly where I want to be. And it's only the now. That's all I am. I just love it, love it, love it. And I just feel so full of what keeps coming through me. Something new, something new. And I used to think I was like a massive cave, like the Barren River caves in Kentucky. Go on, and I'd spelunk. But that was so stark. Now I see myself as this huge, huge mansion. There's so many rooms in it, so many doors that I've shut. And I'm constantly opening up another room, another room, another room. Always right now, right now, right now. I just love it. I'm tired of trying to be what I'm not. I'm tired of trying to be with what other people are so lovely and beautiful. No, I'm just the way I am. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And Chuck, do you have a final word for us, or 10?
And don't really, I started this, but I never got to finish it, and I didn't have a lot to direct with it. Listening to you, although I really have enjoyed and appreciate this, you've triggered a lot of things in my journey. I before I ever even got on a kind of a spiritual thing, I know that one of the first books I got introduced to was Think and Grow Rich. I don't know how I got that, but that sounds kind of like whatever it was. I heard The Secret, and I don't know, I got alerted like with The Secret, I think, when I know it's not that you can go ahead and manifest this stuff, but do you know what's in your best interest and whether you're going to like it or not? I think it was some kind of, it was presented to me like you set a amount of money that you want, but you might like end up getting your arm cut off at work or something, and you get an insurance claim, and then is that really how you wanted it? I did inherit some money from my grandmother's sister in my journey here. And one of the first things I noticed, it wasn't a huge amount, but it was a significant amount. But as soon as I got it and I was able to get some things I wanted, it seemed like other things in my life with the family or grandkids went crazy. And every time I got something I thought I wanted, yeah, everything else would go sideways. So I don't know. And the last thing I'll say, because I don't want to, is I had somebody that was supposedly a very notable palm reader in the family or something, and they read my palm, and they told me that what they saw, that I was going to be significantly abundant in my life. And, I interpreted that as unlimited amounts of money I couldn't even comprehend, which has never happened. But at the same time, I look at my life, and since getting sober and the whole journey and being here with you all, that maybe I have an abundance that you can't put in a bank account. So I don't know, that's what's been running through my mind listening to all this.
Yeah. Thank you, Chuck. I love us all, and I definitely have an abundance of that. Love is what we are. Let me stop the recording.